Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Alberta 20th, 2021 legislative meeting. So we'll start off with the agenda, and I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Waters, thank you very much. Is there any additions, deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. I'll be looking for a motion for the adoption of the minutes of our last regular ledge meeting. Councillor Warwa, thank you very much. Everybody had a chance to read them. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. So Jameson, do we have Kathy Demetru from Community Futures waiting in the waiting room?
We do indeed. I will admit her now. She's joined.
Good afternoon, Kathy Demetru.
Good afternoon, Mayor McPhee. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
So, is that time of year where it's Lemonade Day coming up and Community Futures would like the community to know about it, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's for sure. We are moving ahead with Lemonade Day for June 19th this year. And just so that everyone is aware, we will be making the adjustments according to COVID regulations. Our team is always going to be monitoring the situation and will follow the guidance and guidelines implemented by, of course, Canada Public Health and Alberta Health. We are prepared to make those adjustments, whatever they be, whether it's utilizing the cooler at the social center to have lemonade dropped off, for us to be able to have the taste testing. Those prizes are still there. Just to refresh your memory, the prizes are best tasting lemonade, best lemonade stand, and of course, entrepreneur of the area. And we are going to look at the fact that the prizes were extremely large the last time we held it in 2019. It's just not efficient for us to be running it like that continuously due to everything that's gone on with business, etc. So we are cutting back on the prize money, but we are looking at more prizes, such as an example being the youngest participant, the youngest entrepreneur or futurepreneur. Those are the kinds of things that we are looking at. We have received enough funding in order to run the program. Thank you to the business in our community. And so we are in the process of them being promoted throughout radio and paper outlet, of course, social media, etc. So thank you to the town for allowing us to utilize the facilities, whatever that will look like. I'm looking forward to working with Phil and his group in order to make sure that everyone remains safe. But again, the ask for the town, aside from the facilities, would be that possibly you would consider proclaiming June 19th Lemonade Day again. Are there any questions?
Well, maybe some people in the community don't know exactly what Lemonade Day is that may be watching. So if you could just fill us in a little bit of the history and what you're trying to promote.
Okay. So Lemonade Day is promoting entrepreneurship. We have what we call Lemmy University. That is a program that I facilitate to the kids, and we teach them how to do a business plan from start to finish. This year, we are fortunate enough to have an app. So the kids will be able to download an app as well as the mentors, and they will be able to work on their business plan through that app. We still will provide them with workbooks and, of course, some little prizes and things like that to get them started. The idea is that they need to work with mentors. So we still are looking for anyone and everyone to be involved in Lemonade Day. They need mentors, they need investors, they need business partners or great locations, and of course the customers. So my ask to council is to remember that June 19th is Lemonade Day. We are working with the tourism board in regards to possibly looking at seeing what's available to coincide with them that day. And all in all, just going out to support them. Now for the community itself, they will become very aware of what Lemonade Day is, as we are fortunate enough to work with our local radio station, Country 106, and they will be helping me to get the word out there. They've actually, I believe they've already started with the commercials that'll be running. I'm not exactly screaming Lemonade Day yet, just because I'm so afraid that we're going to get these kids started on lemonade, getting them excited, and then something happen that they aren't able to follow through with Lemonade Day itself. That's a lot of money, or can be a lot of money for them to invest in hard work, and then them not be able to run that day would be extremely disappointing. So that's why I'm not really promoting it full tilt as of yet. We have to work with Alberta Health Services right now, and they are not giving us a clear answer as to whether or not it's going to be able to move forward. Having said that, we are still going to do best tasting. We are still going to do, well, I should say we're going to do the business plan with them. We're going to get them going on that. They will do a best taste test. They will have best entrepreneur, and that will be, and it always was, decided on their business plan. And then of course for best stand is where the expense might come in more so, and we would look at maybe other options, whether it's drawing a picture or something along those lines, so that we're still able to give the prize out. They just don't have to build it. Aside from that, really, it's just to promote the youth. And, after the last while, they could probably use something to get excited about. So we're pretty pumped, and we hope to see you guys out there.
Okay, so June the 19th will be national, or at least Lemonade Day in Vegreville. We don't know about national. You would like to use the facility of the social center for the tasting, is that correct?
Yeah, actually I gave Phil on my application a few dates, starting from June 1st to June 30th. Just because we weren't sure of the dates, because we're still waiting to hear from Health, Alberta Health. This year we have to have criminal checks for all volunteers. We have to go through an extremely labored process just for people to go through or be a part of this process. So we are, looking at that. I will work with Phil and his group as to the exact dates, but as it stands right now, I will be doing Lemonade Day University June 2nd. June 9th will be the Lemonade Taste Test or competition. And then of course, June 19th will be the Lemonade Day. So those 2 dates will be, I will need a facility. I'm not saying it has to be the social center. It will be whatever works for the town and whatever works to be able to keep the kids separated, and judges, of course.
Okay. So will each group still won't have to apply for a business license, and in their business plan, they'll have to break down how much money they're going to put into their products and stuff like that? Will the basically same rules as last time?
Okay, so that was actually an ask or a question that I had for you guys, because I'm not sure how it works for the town office this year. Yes, the kids still need a business license. We still want them to participate in what the community as a whole is, and the step for business licensing, signing a lease agreement with whoever they put their lemonade stand in front of. But I wasn't sure if the town can participate in that manner due to COVID restrictions.
Dale, how are people receiving business license today in applications?
They can do it online, or they can give us a call. We can do it over the phone.
Okay, so we have specific business licenses and lease agreements. And last year, when we worked with Karina and the girls downstairs, I had provided them with the business licenses. So they have to come in with the lease agreement. Last time, they had to come in with the lease agreement showing that they had made those arrangements with the business. And then the girls provided them with a business license for a charge. So I'm open to suggestions, Dale.
Well, they can come to the office and call, and then we can meet them at the front door and do the same process. And we could also do it by appointment as well. So they call, they don't have to be at a certain time. Then they call us when they get to the front door, and we can let them in and do it that way.
Okay, that's fair, because they don't pay a full price for a business license. You know, it's a $1 or $2 charge for their license, but it's something. I just, I'm not sure, I can't remember how things ended last year, but I just want to refresh your memories that in 2019, Northern Alberta had 623 kids participate in this program, and they donated just about $10,000 of their money back into local charities. So that says something. Of course, we encourage them to spend some, save some, and share some. And again, we're promoting the fact that it's the community that supported them, that they were able to have a successful lemonade day, that they would hopefully consider putting a little bit of it back into the community themselves, just like every other business in this town.
Well, I know how impressed the judges were last year when we went out to check out all of their stands and the job that they did and the amount of work and the entrepreneurship, the feeling that they had. It was very amazing. So will you be looking for any judges for this year?
I will, but the selection process is going to be much smaller this year. Due to restrictions, of course. We're still waiting to hear what the overall is going to look like. So if it's possible, if everyone is in agreement, that I would be able to contact them personally and request. And if any of council doesn't want to do that, that's fine. Saying no isn't going to hurt my feelings whatsoever. It's just a matter of, it's a little bit of a commitment, and I know Marielle and Anne and Tina can vouch for that in this sense, and yourself, Mr. Mayor, that the taste testing is not easy. There's a lot to taste, and so we're going to see about adjusting that process a little bit for everyone. But yes, I would appreciate at least 2 of council members to be present. First of all, because of the fact that you're council and the kids really, you know, for them to understand that part of it. And then the second part of it is, of course, because you are, you know, the representatives of the town as a whole. So I hope that's not too much to ask.
All right. I would imagine anybody that would ask would be honored to take part in this again. So is there any questions?
I might need 3. I don't know. I just don't know yet. We're still waiting to, our team has to get together here this coming month. And then that's when it really will be decided as to how it's going to work. Again, due to Alberta Health.
Well, we can hope that by the closer we get to the June, that, you know, the numbers are going down, the vaccinations are going up, and hopefully that will be a little closer to being normal for some of these situations. So, does anybody else have any questions for Kathy about Lemonade Day? Well, did you have anything else you wanted to include that before I...
Yeah, just so that everyone is aware that on June 19th is the set date for Lemonade Day. However, we are considering the fact on vaccinations, that type of thing, we might consider pushing it to September. So it would be, you know, the beginning of September that we might hold off for that Lemonade Day for the kids to be able to actually sell their product.
So they may have to renegotiate their lease options with the property owners.
Well, I think we'll know that before they actually do the Lemonade Day. So if that's the case, they'll already have that in order. But yeah.
Well, I know it was a big hit last time that we had it here in town, and it's nice to see young people grab that entrepreneurship and that feeling that they can do it on their own. And you know what? There was a lot of guidance by parents and stuff too, but there was a lot of hard work put in by those young people of our community. So, and hopefully the community will support it again. So.
And also, again, I can't stress enough, the kids will be looking and I will be promoting and stressing the fact that they can get mentors. It doesn't have to be parents, or, you know, it can be grandparents, it can be friends, it can be those kinds of things. So don't be surprised if someone happens to ask or request for some assistance from some of you, because I will be putting your names out there.
Excellent. Well, we hopefully everything will move forward, and this will come off as good as it did last time. So I know that it was a big hit in the community. So, anybody else have any questions? Wow, pretty quiet bunch today.
Good. It'll be a fast meeting for you guys.
Councillor Waters would like to ask something.
I can unmute. That'd be part of the program, I think, for Zoom meetings. I just want to say, as being a judge and being involved with it in 2019, it's really neat to see how much the kids learn. Yes, they are excited. It is great. I flipped through one of those workbooks, and as a business owner, if I had that workbook like 20 years ago, there'd have been a lot of things answered before I got my feet too far into things. So it's a great program. The kids do get excited. And yes, whoever is going to be tasting this lemonade on that panel do have smaller glasses, because those big, full, almost red cup glasses are not helpful when you judge. What was there, 9 or so teams last year? I can't remember.
There were 12, yeah.
12, okay, there you go. 12 taste testings is a lot. So that's appreciated that that's going to be looked at as well for anyone who's judging the tasting there. But again, a very good program. It's very exciting to see, and something to look forward to, not just for our youth, but for the community as well. the more events we can have and the more things that are positive are great, especially right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do promise smaller taste testing glasses. They're already purchased.
Okay, well, thank you for all your work the Community Future does in our community, and we look forward to this hopefully going forward on the date that you're predicting. So,
Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.
thank you. So we got a little bit of time before our next delegation. Phil, are you ready to go on the garage sale stuff?
Yeah, I'm ready, sir. So this is a item for discussion for town council. There's been numerous requests in the community about whether garage sales will be allowed this year with the COVID restrictions in place. I have done some research with my team around the province and looked thoroughly through the guidelines, and it would be my proposal to town council that we allow garage sales to proceed in the community with specific yard and garage sale guidelines in place. And these are to basically implement practices to minimize the risk of transmission of COVID through the community at yard sales. You do have a document attached. Basically what we're asking the residents is to continue the physical distancing, provide opportunities at your yard sale to maintain that 2 meter physical distancing between people at your yard sale, continuous cleaning and disinfecting. We would like to have people provide hand sanitizer for anyone shopping at their specific sale, and also with personal care to make sure that people, if you are unwell and not feeling well, that you do not attend yard sales, and if you're unwell, that you do not host yard sales. Masks will still be in effect. If you do go into someone's garage that is classified as indoors, they would have to wear a mask if they're inside a garage. Outside, they do not have to, but we ask people to consider wearing a mask when they are at yard sales. And we've attached a poster that people can put at their yard sales that is directly from Alberta Health. And we've done everything that we possibly can in terms of this to ensure that guidelines are for Alberta Health are being met. And it is now open to council for discussion.
Okay, who changed their mind from last year and who requested this? Councillor Barry, it was you? Go ahead then.
I was going to say, I think I like this idea of setting out and informing the public how to properly go about it. I think garage sales are going to occur whether we say yes or no. I've seen advertisements already on power poles. So if we do allow it, the aspect is at least this would be taking the right steps on behalf of the town to totally inform individuals exactly how they should proceed in terms of holding one. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Orwell?
Hi, I'm sort of the same mindset. I think that what Director Rowe has put forward covers all of our requirements. I did see signs also popping up or, you know, random garages opening. And I think that us addressing it and giving regulations, we can't police anything directly. We can't guarantee how people will follow it, but at least we show that we've put forward what the recommendations are, and I'm okay with proceeding forward.
Anybody else? Councilor Rudick.
So I know there are lots of people that are avid garage sailors, so this is always a hot topic, particularly since last year there were a lot of people that didn't get to have their fix of going out and shopping. The question that has been posed in the past, and I'm not sure that it's been answered by this very extensive research that Director Rowe and his department completed, is trying to weigh out the benefits and the negative parts of having garage sales, because again, of course, we're still in the midst of some pretty stringent AHS or Alberta health guidelines. So the question was asked to me, why can this happen if we still are not allowed, according to provincial guidelines, to have visitors or anybody into our home, for example? Why would you invite strangers to come shop in your garage and expect people that are holding garage sales to be able to police that? I don't have an answer for that. And of course, I feel a little bit conflicted because I'm not certain that we necessarily agree with all of the provincial regulations, but I'm not sure where we stand. At the very least, the town has some clear suggestions of guidelines here. I'm not certain what the province believes is appropriate with having garage sales. I'm still not sure how that equates as okay, whereas we still have restrictions on the number of people that can visit in-home.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, I don't know what has changed from last year. Last year, the majority of council said we wouldn't support garage sales. So I guess you'll bring this to the next council meeting, Director Rowe, and we'll have a discussion and we'll put it to a vote.
Okay, sounds good. I'll have that ready for Monday.
Excellent. So, Jameson, do we have a representative from the Greater Metro Hockey League? Derek Pure, is he in the waiting room?
Mr. Mayor, he is not in. Oh, yes, he is. He's officially in the waiting room now. So I'm going to admit him, and you should see him on your screen shortly.
Excellent. Hello, Derek.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
We certainly can now.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, welcome to our legislative meeting, and we hear that the Greater Metro Hockey League would like to make a pitch to us about maybe bringing a franchise here in town.
Yeah, that's correct. I've got a slideshow ready to go anytime.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your league first, Derek, and then we'll take a look at your slideshow.
Certainly. My name is Derek Prue. I'm the executive director of the GMHL West. We're currently in our second season of operating in Western Canada. The league has been around for 16 years. In the East, the GM actually stands for Greater Metro. So the league started in and around the Greater Toronto area and has expanded throughout Ontario into Quebec. And we've established a Western footprint. And we're happy to be one of only a few leagues actually operating right now, playing league games. We received our special dispensation from the Alberta government here a few weeks ago. So been in challenging times. We these boys on the ice, which is nice.
So where do you have teams in Alberta right now, Derek?
We are in Fox Creek, Slave Lake, High Prairie, and the Enoch Cree First Nation.
Okay.
Protected area is the Western 3 provinces. We will look at establishing a footprint in British Columbia in the next year or two. This coming season, we'll be concentrating on adding 2, possibly 3 teams in Alberta.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at your slideshow and then we'll have some questions for you.
Everyone see from their monitors?
We don't have anything yet. Do we need to
Okay.
give you control?
Better?
That's a lot better, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not the most tech savvy guy here. Different applications seem to work differently, but you can see that, then we're good to go. Yeah, the GMHL West, like I said, it's been around for 16 years. We are playing this year with 4 teams and looking to expand. Obviously, the Vegreville market is one that we're very interested in. Currently, these are the 4 teams that are playing. All 4 teams are playing, as I said. Currently, we've got about 110 players rostered. Even though we're not in front of fans, these guys are getting developed daily, which is certainly exciting. Certainly exciting for us. This just talks about a little bit about our footprint. I already touched base on that. We're quite cognizant of the footprint. So as of right now, we don't have overnight road trips. We try to keep our footprint so that you can make it to and from games the same night if possible. And like I said, next year, once we do add the BC teams, there'll probably be 1 road trip, road swing per year. But we are looking to keep the footprint fairly tight, which is good for regional. Obviously, good for the bottom line for travel, but also good for the regional rivalries. Junior hockey in Vegreville. Obviously, Vegreville's got a long history for hockey and demographically works for our business model. And yeah, the facility itself lends itself to this brand of hockey as well. The next slide, we've just got a couple of quotes. One from the mayor of Slave Lake, talking about what junior hockey's done for that community. Also from the minor hockey president in High Prairie, a little blurb there. We're quite proud to have good relationships with the minor hockey programs in which we operate. That's very important for us, and part of our business model is to get these players on the ice with the minor hockey groups. We're seeing in markets where we operate less attrition. So you've got more kids staying in that bantam and midget category, where you're usually seeing a lot of them drop out once they've got something a higher level to aspire to. We're seeing them stay in, and also we're seeing the minor hockey numbers increase for new players. So we're seeing a lot more of the initiation kids, getting excited and joining. players are on the ice with minor hockey. In some cases, they're actually carded coaches. One case in High Prairie, they actually wouldn't have a bantam team because no one came forward to coach. So all the boys got their coaching certificates and helped out there. A little bit about the league. As I said, GMHL has been around 16 years, operate with 30 teams. They've had the same founder and president since their inception, Mr. Bob Russell, actually ex-Edmonton Oiler from the late 70s. It's hard to call yourself junior A unless you're graduating players to the next level. So that's what we do. Our guys are typically looking to move to the collegiate level, although many of them want to aspire to the professional ranks as well. So we open those doors for them. There's two all-star games every season in the Greater Toronto area, and our teams are well represented in that as well. Starting next year, we're extremely excited about national championship, which is going to be starting. So it'll be an East versus West championship every year. Every second year, the West will host it. So next year it'll be in the East, then every second year in the West. So teams that belong in the West will have the opportunity to bid on that national championship. So that's something that's really going to bring a lot of recognition, more so to our league, which is great. Our players come from around the world. Quickly at the junior A level, you're lucky to have 2, 3, 4 guys locally that are good enough to make it. But obviously, anybody that is local that can play at that level, we look at making sure that they've got a spot on the team. So all of that is pretty exciting for us as well. All of our teams are on GMHL TV as well. GMHL.tv. So if anyone wants to check out our caliber, actually a game tomorrow night, you can check it out. If you just click the Enoch Tomahawk icon, you get to GMHL.tv. The games are live, commentated, and I think that'd be a good chance to kind of see how good our brand of hockey is. Every game from our division is live on TV from that platform. Developing better players and better people. We look at obviously the on ice, but we're looking at grooming these young men as better human beings as well. That is everything from each team having its own tutor to SATs to community leadership is another big one. So on the ice is big, but off the ice is just as important. So all of our players sign codes of conduct, which is no drinking, no drug use, all of that stuff. They're full time, but also they are in the community. So each team, usually on Sunday or Monday, there's a schedule that comes out for all the players. Guys that are in school obviously are going to school for half a day and they're practicing during the other half. But the players that aren't in school have a daily list of things they can do, whether it's reading to kids in the schools or teams all have what's called the Snow Angels, where they shovel the walks for seniors or elders, disabled. There's a way for them to sign up. One of the first things that all of our teams do is reach out to local volunteer groups and get our names on those lists so that we can get these players out there. A lot of them have not had a lot of chance to be in leadership roles, mentoring, public speaking. So I want to make sure that they're getting some of those opportunities while they're in town as well. So we find that works out very, very well. And like I said, on the ice, they're very, whether it's camps, most of our teams do camps during the season, skills camps, whether it's power skating, shooting, stick handling. Also, they mentor the minor hockey group for public skating, learn to skate, all of that stuff. So that is a very important part of our business model as well. GMHL West is inclusive. Talks a little bit about We've got a very strong Indigenous. Obviously, we're a team that's located on a First Nation, one of the few in Canadian history to have that distinction. But over and above that, all of our teams have a pretty healthy Indigenous contingent, and we're getting a lot of, a lot of positive press because of that, and it's opening a lot of doors. Willie Littlechild is the president of the Enoch team. He's also on the Edmonton Oilers board of directors. So Ethan Baird is an ambassador for us. So a lot of cool things are happening there as well. We're becoming kind of the league of choice for Indigenous players from right across North America. This next slide is from an Oilers watch party, which was hosted by Kevin Lowe. So team got to go there, check the dressing room out, watch the game from the Oilers 33,000 square foot dressing room and lounge and private chef and the rest of it. So that was something that they were very excited and were proud about as well. Growth and advancement, I touched a little bit on this. There's a little bit of a ticker on the GMHL website that you can track every single player that's ever went on, where they played, 900 plus players there. Just talks about the East versus West final again. The two showcase games that I mentioned before are collegiate and a professional. So rather than just 40 players getting to play in an all-star game, there's 80. So there's quite a bit more exposure for those guys that are able to attend there. And I guess I'll just talk about the GMHL TV segue. There is the nice thing about all of our games being live, and also not only live but archived. So if one of the scouts, agents, coaches get some of our players on their radar, they can go back and actually watch all of their games that have been played previous that season or the season for that matter. So it's a good way for them to be able to track the players and get them ready for the next level. Last slide is next steps. We do not require, nor do we look for capital funding or investment for the communities in which we operate. We look for a facility lease and or ice user agreement, depending on the municipality. Our asks are pretty straightforward. Just ice time necessary to operate. We've got 21 games that we need, which is substantially less than some of the other, like the AJHL or WHL. They try to pick as many games as possible. We follow more the NCAA or collegiate or European Pro, where you practice all week, you play on the weekends. Obviously, right now we are playing the odd Wednesday game because we're trying to make up for some lost time. But typically, you have dedicated practices Monday to Thursday, and you play on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday. Gets them ready more so for the levels where they're going to go. But also, it's great from some other standpoints. Monetarily, your weekday games aren't usually that great at the gate, and you've got the travel. From more importantly, from a development standpoint, you have a game on a Wednesday, and you're not back till 2 or 3 in the morning. You're not practicing Wednesday. Thursday is probably an optional skate. Then you play again on Friday. So we basically try to make it so that the teams can practice 4 days in a row. We see less lagging injuries, and the coaches can really prepare for the weekend. They can watch the video and figure out who they're playing and have that 4 or 5 days of dedicated practice time rather than playing every second day. So that's kind of the ice time ask. The home dressing room is pretty important for the junior A level. Even that we have done something on a temporary basis in one of our markets. So that's not really a deal killer, but another thing that can be done is if the team is on the road, can share their home dressing room with the minor hockey. Typically, if there's going to be a tournament or something, they are working it around team being gone that weekend anyways. So if the team is going to be playing road games, there's no reason they can't clean the locker room out and have it ready. That's actually kind of the minor hockey groups, if they get to use the junior team's dressing room, it's a pretty big deal for them to be in the stall and all that stuff. So it's actually something that we like to see our teams do in partnership with the facilities and the other user groups. So other things that we look for is the ability to get an EGLC license for our home games. Typically, we don't look for concession revenue. You guys will usually have a deal with a user for the concession. So that's usually going to nonprofit groups anyway. So the concession we usually don't touch. We do like to try to earn some in arena advertising and sponsorship. Again, we work around existing agreements that are, usually in place already with the markets. So all of our asks are kind of starting points, and no two agreement is the same depending on the municipality. So really, we just try to enter into an agreement that works for everybody, and we go from there. Once we have a lease in place, that's kind of, we work everything backwards from there. Once we know we've got the ice, then we get one of our manager / coaches or we've got several of high level personnel that want to join our league. And our last guy to join is Dean Whitney, who's Whitney's brother, who has 20 years of experience with the Carolina Hurricanes. So that's the type of caliber of management that we bring in to operate. So we do that, and then of course they set up all the team operations from there, from billeting to promotions to liaising with all of the different community business leaders, all of that good stuff. So that's pretty much it for my presentation. It's kind of short and sweet, but anything that anyone would like to ask, certainly I'd be more than happy to answer your questions.
So, Derek, as far as ownership, does the league own the teams, or do you bring in somebody to write the checks, or how do you do it?
We don't require, we don't predicate our business plan on needing local ownership. We always leave room open for local owner or partner because that's what we like to see, but we certainly don't, we don't have that as a requirement. Because it's usually harder to get things off the ground if you're waiting for somebody local to write the check.
But do you typically look for owners, or does the league own the team? What is your normal?
It can go a number of ways. The league will own the team. We do have a couple of ownership groups that are looking for teams right now, are looking for locations. So we look to see if those might be a good fit. In the absence of that, our league certainly, well, it's not our league, it's a division, but the division can maintain ownership in the absence of that, and we currently do that in 2 of our markets. Probably not for much longer. We've got some agreements in place there, but our division is strong enough where we can certainly run the ship if we need to.
Okay. So who governs your league? Well, like you said,
our league's governed by, as most leagues are, from their board of directors. So the GMHL has its own executive board of directors. It's also got a disciplinary committee. So everything is pretty much run from head office in Eastern Canada, rather than each division having their own. So it's been, I guess, in place for 16 years. So everything is dictated by league bylaw, policy and procedure. So that's how we're governed. far as over and above that, we have the same insurance as Hockey Canada does. So that sanctioning body comes through that way, and it's the exact same as Hockey Canada's.
Okay, and a lot of your players are international players in the league?
In the West, right now, we don't have quite as many. In league wide, I believe the average is about 6. So I think next year, we've operated in 2 years that were hit by COVID, so travel restrictions and everything else. But the league average is 6 Europeans, and again, it goes team by team. Some teams don't have any. Some teams max out at 14. Dean Whitney, who I mentioned before, he's been in the States for a number of years, so I'm sure he'll bring in many more U.S. Players for his team. So it depends a little bit on who your manager and coach is and where their sphere of influence comes from.
And this is a pay-for league. All players pay to play.
Well, not all players pay to play. There's some players certainly on each team that are doing freebies or scholarshiped through their individual teams. It is in general, it's a tuition-based lease certainly, but I mean, so was the CHL, so was the AJHL this year. So I think that that is becoming the norm rather than the exception. Certainly, our business model is tuition based, and really, you're seeing less and less questions being asked about that, just because, compared to playing in an academy or major midget or even midget AA, it's quite a savings from that, and you're getting a lot more development hours than you are at those levels.
And since you've known about the league or been associated with the league, there's been quite a few players that have graduated on to, say, second level colleges in the U.S. or Canadian colleges and universities.
Absolutely. This year alone, I mean, we just had another player commit to ACHA Div 1. I don't know if we have any Div 2 or 3. Mostly it's in our league, and that's the nice thing of having the like all of our coaches have their own obviously their own recruiting and promoting tactics to get guys to the next level, but the league's been around long enough that they know that they've got players where they can kind of fit in. So ACHA Div 1 is kind of the sweet spot for us right now. But we had 2 players go to East Coast League. We've got 1 player that'll sign a pro tryout here probably in the next week. So it really depends on the player if he qualifies for college. And some players just kind of want to skip that and try to go the professional route. Yeah, we've graduated our share, and proportion will certainly go up when teams are able to play complete seasons too.
But they're still eligible for scholarships in NCAA Division I, Division II in the States. It's not like they played in the Western Hockey League where they would now not be eligible for those scholarship opportunities.
Right. Yeah, I picking up what you're getting at now. Yeah, no, they are fully they playing in our league is where you want to play if you want to get a scholarship. So no, the WHL, you're right. You're ineligible for NCAA scholarship. Not the case with us. You're eligible for scholarship anywhere in Canada and the US. And actually, Kevin McClelland, longtime Edmonton Oiler from the 80s, is an advisor. So he's picking up, I think, 3 players for Portage College in the ACAC, which is where he's one of our advisors as well. He's also a coach there. So he'll be picking up at least 3 players for his program next year as well. But we're open to Canadian as well as US collegiate opportunities.
Okay, who's got some questions for Derek? Councillor Wawa.
Hi, I just have two questions. So the first one's general. The second one is a little bit more related to another hat I wear as president of the Vegreville and District Minor Hockey. So the first one was just in regards to the dressing room. I noted that you had said that you were open to the ability to at times have to share the dressing room. Are the dressing rooms in their current state, like are they suitable for you guys to go ahead, or would we require an upgrade before being able to use? So that's the first
one. Normally, our teams have the ability to upgrade the rooms, and that's at our cost. So we don't look for municipal dollars to do that, but we do like to have the ability to upgrade the rooms if it's something that the teams want to do, whether it's putting in new flooring, stalls, painting, those type of things. So that's something that we definitely would like to have the opportunity to do if management is that feels something that they would make the program stronger. The dressing room is important because it's one of the first things that players look at when you're trying to recruit them. So you always like to have a couple pictures of your dressing room where you work out those things, because the players are spending so much time there in the course of the season.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I just kind of wondered, because obviously that's one of the questions this council will get from the general public, is if they felt that we were having to make, a municipal investment for a specific group. So that's great. That answered that. Just in regards to the hockey, this is just a generalized question, because I think that anyone watching our live stream might end up texting me tonight about this. With the way your league is set up, is there affiliation at all between minor hockey and being able to affiliate with your team, or would it be completely separate?
No, there's not affiliation, other than, well, there is affiliation. There's not affiliation as far as we can't directly affiliate with the midget team. So our rosters are usually a little bit bigger. We have 40-man rosters, so we actually have a lot of spare players, more so than some other leagues. But as far as affiliation to be on the ice helping, absolutely, we're on the ice with minor hockey groups in all of our locations. We've got, that's one of the first stops that we go to is cultivating that, because we are taking a little bit of ice time, but we feel that what we give back more than makes up for that. Again, it's different from municipality and the minor hockey groups. We usually let them drive that, because some minor hockey organizations would rather have one or two players mentor their teams for the whole year, so it's consistent. Other minor hockey groups would rather have a bit of a rotation. So if there's say a European kid that's got some crazy stick handling that nobody's seen, we want to kind of get them through everybody, but other groups want them to kind of, hey, here's your two guys, get to know the players, and from a development standpoint, sometimes the minor hockey groups like to see that, and then other times it's just more of a partnership, and the players just show up and do specialized camps, whether it's power skating or shooting, or depending on the age groups of the kids, maybe some systems work or something like that. It's definitely an iterative process where we partner with the minor hockey group to see what works best for them, because some minor hockey organizations have got way more coaches than they need. Some barely have enough. So we try to, fill in the gaps where they're needed.
Perfect. Yeah, certainly you having the insurance sanctioning through Hockey Canada makes that an easier road. So, okay, great. That's what I had. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councilor Rudy.
Thank you for your presentation today. For those of us that are not as familiar with hockey and may only be enthusiastic cheering from the stand type of family members, can you explain to our community and to us here what the affiliation with or relationship with Hockey Canada is, and what that actually means as an implication for your organization, and what that means for the players and their families that are affiliated with those players?
Sure. We don't have a direct affiliation with Hockey Canada. They're just use the same insurer as they do. So and the same body. So that usually is a level of comfort. As far as affiliations with minor hockey, that's pretty seamless. Like our players are considered to be at the level where they're same as if you bring in a strength and conditioning coach or shooting coach or a power skating coach. So that's that's kind of the affiliation there. That's more on an organizational base from individual teams to the individual minor hockey association.
So just so everybody is clear, there's no affiliation between Hockey Canada and the Greater Metro Hockey League. They do work with local hockey operations, minor hockey operations in the towns or the municipalities they're located. They carry the same insurance to the same insurance provider as Hockey Canada. Okay, so everybody.
That's right. It would be if you looked at it as an academy, or I mean, it's like the BC Junior Hockey League, which is probably the strongest junior A league in Canada. Just left Hockey Canada in British Columbia just a little over a week ago. So really Hockey Canada at the junior level is just, their main thing is they're providing insurance. That's kind of that you're not really looking for them for the development model and stuff at the junior A level. So like I said, it's more affiliation with the minor hockey is more done on an organizational level, but really works out to be the same thing as far as getting the players on the ice, mentoring the younger kids.
Okay. Seeing nobody else waving frantically. Well, thank you very much for your presentation, Derek. We're going to have a discussion, and you probably know that the Western States Hockey Leagues have approached us, and I know that you were with them at one time. I met you with Ron White a few years ago. So we will have a conversation, and we will get back to you if we have any questions first off, and then Phil will probably be reaching out to let you know what our discussions ended.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So we're done with the grad sale. So we don't have Staff Sergeant Terry Higgins coming until 4:30. So I think we should go right into the discussion about the hockey. Or does everybody want some more time to think about it? Or is there some other questions they need answered? I know we don't know a lot about the two leagues. I've not contacted, I've talked to the mayor of Slave Lake before. I know they were looking at going into the Western States, and they ended up going with the Greater Metro team. So haven't talked to them how successful they've been, and I haven't talked to the people in Fox Creek or Grand Prairie or Enoch. So do you guys want to go ahead and have this discussion now? Do you feel comfortable? Good. Councilor Rudick.
I guess maybe I do have a question before we start that conversation. Are we at a juncture where we're trying to decide between these two organizations? Are we at that point to make that decision? Do we feel like we have enough information to make that decision?
Well, I would leave that up to council. I didn't see a lot of questions being asked during either one of the two presentations. There's some hockey questions that Councilor Wobar brought up, and I appreciate your question about the affiliation and the insurance. The two leagues are governed in the same way. This league here is more of a Canadian orientated league. They have 16 years of history, and we haven't seen a lot of dirty laundry from this league yet, but maybe there is. Phil, what do you got?
So I guess, your worship, in the essence of time for this meeting and moving forward, a decision should be made by at latest mid-May. to meet the guidelines for these leagues in setting up new teams at their AGMs and having discussion. I have talked with the communities at an administration level. I have not talked at a political level like you have at with some of the communities, and all but one had good things to say about the GMHL. One municipality did not, and I think that is a discussion that we could have another time on a political level with your political allies in these communities. I could bring some more information back if that's what council wishes, or like I say, we can have that discussion here today.
Councillor Waters.
So we've heard the presentation from both groups, which is great. So for me, not being from a hockey background, I have a better understanding, I guess, as to what each group is. I think what I might need to see is a list of pros and cons of their wants and asks from us as ice time, the facility itself, and anything like that, and just to see where that would be at. And I'm still not too sure to really make a decision yet.
Okay, I think Councillor Warrell was next, and then Councillor Rudy.
Yeah, I have no problem taking some more time to talk it over for sure as well. I guess the biggest difference that stands out to me, this isn't really a hockey, well, I guess we are talking hockey a little bit, but this is more on the usage side, is an openness and willingness to allow other groups to utilize a dressing room makes a big difference, especially from the standpoint of if we're talking about tournaments and whatnot. The second thing is, in this case, it seemed like this organization to me was more so talking to us as a user group, more so dealing with facilities versus asking us for a partnership of taking ownership to, advocate for them in some way or pay for improvements that they might want to do to a room. So that's one of the things that stood out to me as a difference. They weren't asking us to make changes. They were suggesting if we were allowing them to rent a facility and changes were needed, they were more so asking us to allow them to make them versus that. I think the biggest difference is in one way being asked to be a partner in something that's coming in or being asked to allow a group to come in as a user group. This was a little more user group based, but that's just what I wrote down from that.
Okay, I appreciate it. Everybody takes a little something different away from each presentation. So it's good. Councillor Rudy.
I was just going to suggest, kind of along the lines of what Councillor Waters said, is that maybe we need to have a separate discussion and have maybe the two sets of proposals to be able to consider them against one another, because in essence, we're going to have to decide one over another. And I appreciate that we've heard from both groups, but we've also received a series of emails and maybe have shared them with each other to be able to get a little bit more information and make a prudent decision. So I don't know that that would be a difficult thing to do. If we need to make a decision by the middle of May, we still got a few weeks to be able to set aside an hour or two as a separate discussion for council. If I could suggest that we move that to a discussion we can put forward to a different date.
Okay, so Phil, could you maybe put together both requests from both leagues and have it for Monday night? And then we'll maybe reach out between then and now with get a little more feedback from some other towns, because we reached out to the towns that are involved in the Western States Hockey League. So maybe we'll reach out to the mayors of these towns and see what their thoughts were. So,
yep, that works for me. I'll have that ready for Monday for you.
Okay, is everybody good with that? Excellent. Right on. So it is 3. So we will move on to Mr. Dale Lefebvre.
Thank you, Your Worship. Everybody has the memorandum that was sent up. This is regarding the designated highway signage area. Just a little history. We had in 2019 put together a policy that allowed for 10 sites on the south side of Highway 16A to go up for advertising. Now, what was key in the policy was it was offered to resident businesses that did not have highway frontage or exposure. That was the key in setting this up. At this point, we also have an additional 8 on the north side. The mayor had us get together and do what we had to do to put the signs up on the property, which is our road right away. We've put it in social media. We've put it in the municipal scoop. We're throwing it out there, and we're not seeing a lot of interest in the other 8. What we have had so far is 2 resident businesses without highway frontage approach us, but then had backed off and are not wanting to pursue it at this point. We have 1 resident business with highway frontage already who also wants to advertise here. That would be the first one. And then we have 1 that is a place of worship that is not on highway frontage that would like to acquire the sign. And our policy states to offer resident businesses not having highway frontage is what it's about. So we can leave the policy as is and leave those 8 stalls float for a little bit longer till we see some interest. Maybe when things change a little bit, the want to advertise may return. Or at this point, if we want to just get a couple more out there, we could change the policy to allow for a place of worship to acquire a sign, or possibly a business place that is on the highway. And that's why it's here. So we could leave it status quo for now and see what happens in the next couple months, or we can start making some changes.
Before we went to the north side, there seemed like there was a lineup of the people that wanted it.
Yep.
And so when we measured it off and had set it up, and then of course it was a full-blown COVID time, and the requests have slowed down. I know the reason that we dedicated that portion of our land to those signs was because it was just a free-for-all, and businesses that didn't have any highway frontage would like to get their name out, and it worked very well, and it still works well. So a request will be for Monday night is if we want to open it up to not only businesses that already have highway frontage, but maybe to some religious churches or somebody that would like to advertise on it too. So, Councillor Barry.
My perspective on it is I think we have time to wait and let the businesses get back into business to see just what the demand is. I don't think we were designating another 8 sites because we were excited about designating another 8 sites. It was to provide for those businesses, Vegreville businesses that didn't have frontage along the highway. And I would myself stick with that right now. I'm not certain how far we would want to open it up to alternatives. I think that we had sort of a policy in place when we designated the first ones, and we were willing to add 8 because it appeared that we had Vegreville businesses that wanted sites and the first ones were gone. So I don't think that there's any reason that I see that we need to be all anxious to fill these 8 sites. I think our policy still stays in place. And we wait until Vegreville businesses are prepared to see the expenditure of monies to advertise in those locations, which is pretty tight right now. Thank you.
Councillor Rudy.
So I would just thank you for explaining that the advertising was done in the municipal scoop and on social media in April. I wonder if maybe a little bit more time and a little bit different prospects as we move forward into the next few months would change some of our businesses' perspective. In addition to the fact that I would suggest that many may not have been aware of this opportunity. Although we've done the advertising, there may be another partnering with our economic development and communications possibilities within the community of Vegreville, our actual staff, as well as maybe a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce to maybe just reach out and remind business owners that this opportunity exists. I don't think it's too, I don't think we need to withdraw this opportunity. And I know that businesses are definitely interested in advertising. It just might need a little bit more time. I don't know that we want to expand it to include other considerations. I think resident businesses was the intention, and that should still continue to be the intention.
Okay, so is everybody else pretty much status quo, leave it the way it is for right now and try to just get the word out again that these spots are available for any resident business that doesn't have any highway frontage for the time being? Well, I see nobody's shaking their head. So Dale, I think we'll just leave it the way it is.
Yep, for sure. That's what we'll do then.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and we'll maybe take a look at this again in the fall if they're not filling up. And there's been requests of other businesses resident businesses that have highway frontage, but still would like to advertise before you get to their location. And if nobody's taken up the spots that are available, maybe we'll have to reconsider it then.
Okay, will do.
Thank you very much. Mr. Casey, how long do you think yours is going to take, your presentation?
It's not going to take very long, Your Worship. I'm just going to summarize what I've written here that I sent out to council. It basically was a memorandum to advise council of the various things that we have to consider when we set our property taxes. So I'll just summarize each point briefly. So the first one is related to assessment. Assessment is based on the market value of a property as of July 1st of the year prior to the assessment, updated as of December 31st for the condition of the property at that time. But the value is set as of July 1st. Overall assessments declined in 2020, both from a residential and non-residential assessment. And the assessments, residential assessment makes up about 66% of our total assessment, which is down from historically around 70%, and non-residential makes up the difference, which is up from what it used to be. And that's generally as a result of the decline in residential assessments over the last number of years, while non-residential assessments have stayed mostly stable or increased a little bit. From the taxation bylaw point of view, council approved the 2021 operating budget, which sets out the amount that we have to collect for taxes. And as I mentioned prior, the tax bylaw that we've currently drafted, which is also here, is based on 47% of the taxes collected from residential ratepayers and 53% from non-residential ratepayers. And then there's an increase in the discount rate for small businesses. The education levy and the MD of Minburn Foundation levy are levies that come from external sources that the town has to levy taxes for. We have no control over that. We're given the amount and we have to create a mill rate to collect the money and remit it to those agencies. One of the things I wanted to make clear to both council and to people who are listening is impact of changes in assessment. So as I said before, the budget was passed in December. That sets the amount of taxes that we have to collect. If assessment goes down, that has no impact on the budget. It just impacts the municipal mill rate that we have to charge to collect our taxes. So if assessment decreases, that does not necessarily mean that there's going to be a decrease in taxes collected. We are going to set the mill rate to collect the taxes that were approved in the budget. There's an illustration for single family property, which is 2021, the average straight average single family property assessment was $201,000 versus $208,000 a year before, which represents about a 3.5% decrease, which is what they went down. And overall, considering the municipal levy, the education requisition, and the MD of Minburn Foundation, someone in that with that assessment would likely see about a $31 decline in their overall taxes. And we expect that if council approves the bylaw on Monday, that the tax notices will go out sometime between May 8th to May 12th. Last year, we had significant issues with Diamond in getting the date straightened out. So we're leaving a period of time. So if we run into any issues, then we can get them resolved. And as stated or as discussed at council at the last ledge meeting, property tax due dates will be September 30th, and penalties of 10% will apply for any levy unpaid after that date. And then the last thing on here is the tax installment payment plan. Now, while our tax installment payment plan has not increased in terms of the number of participants significantly, it's gone from 722 to 744 in the last 5 years. It has increased about $659,000 in terms of the dollars that we collect for taxes. So about 27% of our taxes are collected on the TIP program. The following is just the draft bylaw that will be brought to council on Monday. And it shows the breakdown of what our assessment is and what our tax rates are going to be. So that's all I had, Your Worship. If anybody has any questions, I'm prepared to answer.
Who would like to go first? Councillor Riddick, go ahead.
Thank you for preparing this for us, Mr. Casey. I'm just going to actually go right to the very end. When we had discussions last year about tax collection and consideration of trying to prepare a different way to make sure that we were accommodating the financial pressures that both residents and non-residential payers were experiencing last year because of COVID-19, we had tried to focus on a program that had been there for quite a while, but we haven't done a lot of publicity about. So the tax installment payment plan obviously meant that we increased our collection, particularly with some larger payers, which is beneficial for them and for us. Do you have an idea of how we would do a better advertising or sharing of this information with the public, and a goal that maybe we would try to reach a certain level of collection or number of remittance from this particular collection?
I think that we'll have to have a discussion with our communications manager to figure that out. But the uptake last year was like I said, it was a little bit, but it wasn't as much as we would have liked. And that probably was a result of us not doing a good enough job. But one of the things that I've seen on various number of tax installment payment plans, and I'll just cite for the one that I recently looked at was the one for the city of Lethbridge. And now I understand they're a big organization. But when they introduced a discount for people who signed up on the TIP, their uptake took off. They went from about 18, I think they had 2,200. And in the last 10 years, they've gone from 2,200 to 22,000 people on their TIP program. And they offer a 0.75% discount on their taxes if you sign up for the TIP. So I'm not suggesting that council might want to consider it, but at some point in the future, if we want to grow the plan, we may have to consider something similar.
So let's put that in a dollar figure. What's 1% overall taxes?
It would only apply to the municipal taxes. So that would work out to about $90,000.
If every person decided to go that route, if every household, resident,
every business and every household signed up for TIP, it would be about $90,000 that we would be giving up on a 1% discount.
Okay, so Councillor Riddick.
Sorry, I know that you're asking questions as well, Your Worship. So I'm thinking, and I wouldn't want to assign any kind of blame. Last year was a particularly unusual year, and with our staff, yourself included, not necessarily being in the office as we're trying to come up with these new ways of being able to engage with our public. I think this is actually quite a good uptake, myself included. I didn't realize that this program was in place because it was before I was on council. So I'm going to guess that maybe Mayor McPhee was going to ask if we were going to do this incentive, this would be on a one-time basis, potentially, not a perpetual discount. But I do feel like one of the things that we've learned from COVID, there are a lot of things that we can do online. And if we make it easy for people to access this payment opportunity or option, we might have some more people be able to join into this periodic payment and be able to help ourselves out as well as them. So I would look forward to hearing your proposals as we move forward.
Well, it's an interesting idea what the city of Lethbridge did there. So in real dollars, I could see if we were to double our uptake on this TIP program, we could probably say that it might run us $12,000 maybe if we went at 1% or something like that.
Yeah, I would say that's probably close to reality. We collect about $3.3 million on our tip. So if you doubled it to be $6.6 million, you're looking at, whatever 1% of $6.6 million is 60. Yeah, well, that would be more than half of your taxes that you would collect. So,
yeah. So maybe we could look at that. I think we have a perfect opportunity coming up here where we're mailing out the new assessments for everybody. Maybe we could just include it with that, just a little explanation of how TIP works and encourage people to get on the program. I mean, if we're going to make any changes and offering a 0.5% discount for any new people, then it's only be the first year that you uptake on it. We'd have to introduce them now while this tax bylaw is going through.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, and I understand Councillor Rudick. The city of Lethbridge is a perpetual program. So everybody who signs up gets a discount. It doesn't matter if you signed up 10 years ago or today. You're getting that discount because we're getting your money in advance.
Okay, and is it every year that discount is in place?
Every year.
Okay.
Now, for us, if we were to do something like that, we would have to change our tax installment payment plan policy or bylaw. I'm not sure what it is. Cliff, is it a bylaw?
It is a bylaw.
Yeah, so we'd have to introduce a new bylaw to make that change.
Okay, so in the time crunch that we're under right now, we want to get these new assessments out there to the public. Let's include some conversations about how TIP works and how to sign up as the mail out goes out. And as soon as we get this stuff under everything done, let's have the conversation about moving forward, about having 0.5% or something for the people that are on it, because we do start getting their money early. I mean, if in reality, if we had put that money in the bank, we have it's available for us to make money up on that, correct? We could make some interest on it.
Yeah, we have an interest-bearing treasury account, and we also have a high-interest savings account that is higher than what we would offer in both cases under the TIP.
So is everybody fine with we stay status quo this year and get this tax bylaw passed? And then as soon as this is done, we start looking towards the future? Or do you want to try to bring it in right now? Or who even cares? I mean, is everybody on the same opinion that this is good? Councillor Barry, is that with your hand up?
Yes.
Sorry, go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I only have a couple of questions. I was of the impression that it was every year, so it would be an ongoing savings or an ongoing expense, depends which side you look at it. The question I have is, there are a group of us who have their mortgage lender collecting the monies and paying it all on the day that it's due every year. So for some, the TIP program isn't a requirement because it is, collected and paid by the bank. So how would that work in that scenario?
I can't give you an answer at this time. I'll have to give it some consideration and see, because I was only considering the tax installment payment plan. I understand that there are people that make their tax mortgage payments on a monthly basis. However, we don't get that money till the end of the year. So
I know my mortgage company pays it on the day that the taxes are due. which would be
Right, well, that's
June.
what I mean. They pay it on the day the taxes are due as opposed to in advance. Whereas a tax installment payment plan, we're getting that money from you every month. We're not getting it. Your mortgage company is pay, if our due date is September 30th, your mortgage company is paying us on September 30th. If you're on the tip installment plan, you're paying us in January, February, March, April, May, June, all the way throughout the year for a full 12 months. That's the difference.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that, because I was looking at it the other way, that you're getting your money on the tax date rather than waiting for it.
So in reality, your mortgage company is the one that's making money every month by holding that money for you.
Yep.
I mean, you know, if you were to be responsible, you would say,
Actually, that's not quite right, because they hold it in an account and it gains money for me. And sometimes they actually adjust it so that they're collecting less. So I have mine set up as they're holding it in an account for me and then paying my taxes.
Okay, well, there you go. So first of all, you guys want to have this conversation now about maybe trying to entice more people to get on this tip program by offering a percentage off their taxes? Or do you want to just go ahead with the tax bylaw the way it is right now and then have this conversation later? Councillor Broadjack.
I want to ask administration what their preference would be, because of course they're the ones that work with the timelines. So I think that it would be prudent to ask administration if this can be done this year or not.
I would prefer that we just go ahead with the tax bylaw this year and look at putting it in place for the next year.
Well, not to to try to rush it right now without knowing all the pros and cons of it, but it does sound like it's a good idea, and it's another way to entice people to get on that program. And so we'll definitely bring that up again, Cliff.
Thank you, Your Worship. The other thing is there is a cost to the town to do this, and we have not discussed this in the budget process either for this year. So I think that's something that we would bring forward to a future year.
Yeah. I would like to see it be brought back, though. I mean, and maybe, you know, there would be some costs for sure, and there's benefit too. The simple fact that we're probably going to make more on than that 0.5% than what we're giving back or whatever it is, but there will be logistics and there'll be admin responsibilities to be taking place. So yeah, so to get it all fleshed out, the pros and cons would be good. So everybody's okay with moving forward on Monday with the tax bylaw the way it is, and maybe we encourage people by updating them on how TIP works when their assessment goes out. Just a flyer or an addition within that envelope.
We will work with Jameson to come up with something to put in that envelope.
There you go. Things are working good. Okay, thank you, Paul. We appreciate that. Okay, next up, Cliff Craig.
Thank you. The first item that I have is the Fcm Virtual Conference. The early bird registration is up at the end of next week, I think it is. And so I just wanted to know how many would be at registering for the conference. The conference itself is at the end of May, beginning of June. So, but in order to participate in the early bird registration, could you let Sandra know fairly quick? Okay.
How many days is it, like altogether?
4. I believe it's 4.
4 full days virtually? Councilor Rudick?
The schedule isn't for the full days, but there are different sessions interspersed in the 4 days. So it isn't complete. It's not the same as if you were attending in person. in terms of the duration every day, but there are different events and different speakers at different times. But the early bird deadline is this Friday.
And what is the registration cost for the early bird? Come on. Oh, Councilor Bryan.
$600 instead of $670.
$600 for a virtual conference? Councilor Brajak.
That was going to be my comment, was could we do a comparison? What was it last or in previous years when it was an in-person meeting? Because that seems to be quite an extravagant or high amount for a virtual conference, considering that it's that they would like to get attendance, I think, across Canada. So just seems
maybe
like
we
unusually
put up
high.
a big screen at the social center and everybody can go as social distance and get on there for one registration. What do you think? Councilor Rudick, it doesn't work that way. You're a member of FCM?
Well, I am a board member, but so when this decision came forward to the conference planning committee, of which I'm a member, this decision about the cost had already been approved. So you're not the first or the only person that's talked about the cost in terms of an online platform. The difference about needing individual registration is that the vote, for example, at the AGM and or individually, to be able to vote, you need to be an individual delegate. I don't say that I agree with the pricing because there are definitely other examples that were cheaper, but the difference, I guess, is that the cost of travel and the other costs affiliated with being able to attend in person are not there. But I don't disagree.
I'll probably be sitting this one out. I won't be registered for that kind of money. No, that's way too much for me. Okay. And next up, Councilor Brajak.
I'd like to request from Councillor Rudick that she bring back a comment to FCM to say that this pricing excludes a lot of the smaller communities. So if they want to have the input and the decision-making from the smaller communities, I think it does, with this kind of pricing, it does tend to exclude a lot of the smaller communities.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brodziak. That is almost exactly the wording that I used in email, and I would be happy to add your voice to that as well, because I do feel like it's an opportunity that might be absent other years, but because we have the chance to be able to have attendees from all across the country and all sorts of corners that may never be able to attend, that this is perhaps a missed opportunity. That said, there are some extremely valuable presentations, but it is very expensive, particularly for a smaller municipality.
Any other comments? Okay, so whoever was planning on attending this, let Sandra know. And if you do plan on, please let her know before the deadline so that she can catch up on the $60 savings. Okay, next up, brand proposal.
We've been working on updating our town logo, and our current logo, the egg or the Pasanka picture within the logo is actually a picture, a photo, and it's hard to duplicate and to copy into other formats. So we've looked at having some work done on the logo. And on the proposal that was sent out on, I think it's page 3 under 1.0 logo, this is the design that we've looked at. It keeps the egg in there, the big V, it's clean, it's easy to read. But of course, before we go ahead with anything, we would be discussing this with council. So it's under a primary logo on page 3 in the attachment. So what are your thoughts on? Oh.
Sorry, if I could just interrupt. I had to reload the document. So if you don't have the document or it's not opening for you, can you refresh and try opening it again. It should open because it now opens for me. Apologize if you haven't been able to open this, but when I tried it before I sent the agenda, it was working and it wasn't working today.
Is anybody that hasn't seen this yet today? Was it open good for me earlier?
Did it open for you? Okay. So comments, do you like it, not like it? We've looked at a couple different ones. This is the one that that really appealed to us. Like I said, keeps the Pasanka, a simplistic concept of it, along with the town of Agerville written out clearly. So, is there anyone that doesn't like it? Maybe I'll ask that. So.
Okay, well, I am not getting any hands. There we go, Councillor Waters.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I like that it's being refined, a little clearer to see, and I like that it's not straying very far away at all from what we currently have. We can't continue rebranding our logo. We have to stay consistent, very important. Just a question with the change and the cleanup of the logo itself, the swag and such that we do have, we're going to utilize all of that until it's gone. We're not going to just like replace it and let that sit.
No, this will take time to implement, so we'll definitely use our current inventory. And but on the same token, when we're looking at our wayfinding as an example, we would hold off and put the new logo on any of our signage. Okay, but going forward, we'll use the new one if it's approved, but we will use up what we have for our current inventory.
Thank you.
Councillor Rudick.
So similar question. I don't like or dislike. I think it looks great because it has the egg in it. I think that there are many communities that would love to have something that is as iconic. And as much as Dale's fire hydrant in the background is a beautiful piece of artwork, it's perhaps not as identifiable as the Pasanka that so many people have in their background. My question is similar to Councillor Waters. I did work for a government department before, and I know that they changed in that particular government department, they changed their logo and their branding annually. And so there were reams of paper at that time, boxes and boxes that had to get changed every year. So I just would want to, I guess maybe not a question, but more a comment that the color seems to be different. This is different than the last logo brand was a brighter blue. Even our t-shirts that we have as council is a little bit different. So just wondering what the plan is in terms of changing over, what the time frame is, because there are some different colors as well as the actual typography and things like that, because I didn't realize that we were working on this. So just curious about what the extended current versus future timelines might be, especially since we are doing an advertising campaign and would want to consider some of those as well as the swag or the promotional material that we have currently.
The first comment would be depending on when it's approved. If council likes this, we would present this at the town council meeting on Monday. As far as pre-printed stationery, we do not do that. We have an electronic format of our stationery, so we don't have a stockpile of pre-printed stationery. Okay, so so it would be easy for us to change, and our letters fairly soon after it's approved would have the new logo on.
So was it intentional to have the bunny rabbit ears because of the Easter egg, or?
Bunny rabbit ears, sorry.
Like at the top of the logo.
Oh, didn't even know that. I didn't even pick that up as bunny rabbit ears. I just looked at it all as the shape of the pesinka and the egg.
Well, it's a good play on Easter eggs.
Good, believe it then.
Councillor Barrett, you're up next.
Okay, I do have
Your
one
Worship,
other. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't have a real problem with it, except I look at it and I'm just not certain if I see the Pysanka. I see some similarity to it there in the V, but it's just, maybe it's because I've gotten really used to the real image there that I rather liked, but I do understand the difficulty in trying to reproduce it.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow there just seems to be too much white there for me to really see the Pysanka. And yet I don't disagree with it too much. But.
Okay, we have a couple more comments coming. So Councillor Wawa, you're next, and then Councillor Broad.
Yeah, mine's very similar to the same. I personally like in the black and yellow because we're losing our colors versus the blue, but that's just me. I don't like the egg. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it at all. To me, it doesn't look like it's following our theme that we've been going with. I like even in the chamber where they have the Vegreville District Chamber of Commerce, they don't have a picture of theirs. Their two C's are the actual pattern. And we've really gone, my concern with this is we made a lot of decisions along the way, even with our tourism board when we were approving murals. And part of what we approved with our murals was that design and color. So if we go away, because to me, this doesn't look at all like our Ukrainian egg, it's just got an egg shape. But yeah, I would like to see us using something a little more similar to the, rather than picture the graphic used in the two C's of the Chamber of Commerce, because I really hate the thought of losing after specifically making even the mural artists incorporate the yellow and black and the design. We would kind of have gone away from that. So that's me.
Okay. Well, and that's what's important. You asked for your opinion. So Councillor Broadjack.
Yeah, I'm along the same lines as well. I'm definitely, I want to make sure that whatever logo we design, that it's immediately recognizable that that is the Vegreville Pysanka in the egg shape. Yeah, to me, I don't think if you were to present this to, let's say, somebody from Edmonton, that they would immediately recognize that as the Vegreville Pysanka. So I think that's important that we do keep that in mind when we are designing our logo. We have a beautiful Pysanka that's recognized the world over, and I think it would be very important to keep that that logo, even if it isn't the current logo that we have. That's sort of got a little bit of cloudiness to it, a little bit of white cloudiness, but definitely we need, I think this needs some work.
Okay, we're going to go to Councillor Lemko.
Your Worship, the jury's out for me. I kind of like the old one. I like the change as well, but I think it takes away from the Pysanka itself. If I'm a world traveler and I'm looking at the logo, I don't see any resemblance to anywhere near the beauty of our egg. I think there needs some work.
So could we say that if we were to incorporate more of the traditional pattern that we already have, the egg, into the egg there, then take a look at something like that?
Okay. I did also want to point out on the last page, or page 12 of the proposal, just wait a sec for everyone to get there.
Yep.
Okay, it's called the social profile page. And what we would do for the social media, because it's hard to put the banner of Town of Vegreville across a page, is the company had developed a button. And so that would be, that's the only time it would be used is in social media, just so that it it's more visible on the screen as opposed to Town of Vegreville spread out across, say, the app as an example. That would be the opening page. So
when we look at the reversed part of the design, that's when you can really see the bunny rabbit.
oh, okay, I see.
So I think if we were to bring more of the traditional pattern from the ag into it,
Okay.
and then is everybody okay with that? Then we'll take another look.
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Cliff.
Very good.
Okay, well, I guess up next is me. And it's 3:50.
Your worship, sorry for interrupting you. I had one question before we move on from this. We've directed Cliff to go back and address some of the concerns that were raised here about the logo, but does that change any of the implications? I would hate to see a delay, because what this means then is, of course, if we delay on this decision, then that also impacts the wayfinding and the signage that we had hoped would be in place last year, for example. Is that an implication by delaying this portion of the decision?
It would depend on the timing for us to get a redraft back from the company and out to council. I would like to move ahead fairly quickly on this. If it's even within the first half of May, I'm sure we can work with that with wayfinding. Okay.
So if we look within the Chambers logo, the colors and the patterns within their logo, it's more like the egg. If we can take and translate the same pattern and then put it inside that egg shape, I think we'll be close. Sorry, I was muted. Anyway, if we get a little bit closer to the colors and the pattern that are within the egg today, I think we can probably make this work. So quickly as we can. So basically, we have a couple of letters looking for our support. And the first one's from the town of Morinville, and it's to the Honorable Casey Madu, Minister of Justice, Solicitor General. Our council is not supportive of the government of Alberta's initiate to replace the RCMP with an Alberta Provincial Police Service. In our opinion, is that there are other more effective ways to achieve the outcomes identified through the Police Act review. Indeed, improving the public trust in policing, ensuring an effective complaint process, and improving Indigenous people's relationships are important objectives. So then he goes on to list about the fair panel deal recommendations established in the APPS. Well, despite 65% of the respondents indicated that they don't have support. And I know that when we were looking at this and when it went around, we didn't really understand where the province is going with this. So basically what they're asking for is for our support as a municipality and asking Minister Madu not to make those changes to the policing model that we have in the province. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Councillor Warwa?
For me personally, I'm not in favor of writing a support letter. I feel like we would need to have a much bigger discussion on our part. I know we've talked about it a little bit and we've said what we sort of think, but we haven't had an open and round discussion about it. So for me, I wouldn't be in favor of it.
Okay. And I know we've not had a large discussion about this. I mean, I know that we've had a few comments from councillors. So is it something that you guys want to have a separate conversation about before we would endorse this, or what do you want to do? Councillor Lemko.
Your worship, it'd be important to have a consensus among council as to where our position is with this, whether the RCMP should be replaced with a provincial force. I, for one, feel that that would cost us way too much money in the economy right now that we're with difficulty. And so I would support the letter, but I would be important to support it as a whole versus as opinion of Councillor Lundpo.
So does anybody know what AUMA's permission have they wrote what their position is and what they're hearing is? Like, I haven't seen that yet, but I know that there was a lot of conversation on the town hall meeting, we'll say, that we had with Minister Madu from members of AUMA. So, okay, Councillor Rudick. Then we'll go to Mr. Craig.
Sorry, I couldn't say for certain. I haven't looked again, but the AUMA did make a submission to the province, understanding that, of course, that it is a question that also includes the federal jurisdiction as well with RCMP. But I think the cost overrides and the lack of actual direct control, which is some of the things that we often hear that we're paying and not able to direct, where we would like policing necessarily, other than at the beginning of a year to be able to identify which concerns we might have as a specific community area of concern. I don't disagree with the mayor and council of Morinville. In fact, I think that would be very similar for almost every community across the province. That said, perhaps we need to have a separate discussion. I don't know how many of us joined into that 2-day workshop about policing, but it was fairly extensive in terms of the demonstration that AUMA has made their submission to the province.
Okay, well, we will have a conversation about this if we're going to endorse this letter or not, because we'll try to get as much information as we can on, I mean, I know I was on there for one day, and what I took from it really didn't make a lot of sense to me why we'd be changing. But in the comments I had got from other people and on the chats in between, it was not a real positive message that the province was getting as feedback. So get us as much information. Who wasn't involved in that presentation that Minister Madu had through AUMA? Councillor Brodziak, you didn't hear it? Okay. Okay, well, let's try to get some more information on what the proposal of the province is. Go ahead, Sir Cliff, go ahead.
Okay, I can follow up with AUMA and find out what their work or progress or their stance on it is, and I'll send out an email to, or their position, I should say, send out an email to council members then. Okay.
That's what we'll do. Okay, we also received another letter from the town of High River, sorry. And they're talking about the Eastern Slope coal exploration and public consultation. So the town of High River is requesting our support to encourage the province and the Alberta Energy Regulator to cease all exploration on categories 2 lands within the eastern slopes of the Rockies. In addition, we want to encourage all municipalities to actively participate in public consultation proceeds to ensure our opinions and the voices of our residents are heard. Protection of this valuable landscape and the watersheds that will be impacted by any coal development activity is important to every resident of Alberta. So they've passed a resolution and they're looking for us to support that. Councillor Barry.
On this matter, I think that I would say we could support their position. I believe personally, and as a fisheries biologist and having been with the government for 30-some years, if they go ahead with the coal developments that they have been proposing out there, we are going to see serious damage to our watersheds. And although it sounds strange to be in Vegreville and make statements like this, our water supply comes from those mountains. We get the water from Edmonton. That water comes from the east slopes. And in the upper watersheds, even in the North Saskatchewan, they have proposals up there. And definitely down in the south for the High River area there, they have proposals that are maybe even looming much closer than what ours would be. But there are tracts of land out there that, although they're saying they're reversing the policy and bringing it back, they still have coal leases out there that are foreign owned. And if you go on them, you're trespassing. And yet it's landscape of Alberta. And those watersheds, the heavy metals and et cetera that will contaminate the watershed are serious. And the loss of waters are serious. So I think that every Albertan should actually recognize we don't need the coal in Alberta. It's strictly for foreigners to extract it and send it overseas. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Councilor Rudick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would defer to the expertise of Councillor Berry in terms of the impact to the watershed, but we have had this question posed to a couple of us councillors, and we had brought this forward a couple of times. And so I appreciate that the town of High River has brought this forward again for us to consider and add our voice to. And I think as municipalities that are far away, it may seem that this doesn't impact, but water is essential for every community, and it's one of our basic services that we provide as a municipality. That's our core services that we provide. And if we don't have access to clean drinking water, that will be immediately a devastating situation to be in. So I appreciate Councillor Berry's proposal, and I would support writing a letter of support as well.
Anybody against writing a letter of support? Okay. Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I know the government of Alberta would like to increase the revenue stream through the production of coal and for the exportation to other countries. But when we're transitioning from coal generation in this province and in this world, it just doesn't make any sense to be part of the problem, really. I mean, I understand the economic benefits of it, and the province only has a few different ways to collect money, and through natural resources like oil, gas, and coal is one, and the other is taxation. But it just doesn't make sense to me that we would, you know, at this time in the world where we're at in the world, and we just don't really need any more coal production. So, Councillor Berry.
The gains they'll make are very short-term gains. The damage they'll cause will last forever. And it's not just us that use those watersheds. The water goes all the way through Saskatchewan and Manitoba. We have to be respectful of what we have here in our watersheds and recognize that it needs to be here forever, not just take out some coal quickly to balance the budget. It's not sensible at all. We have to have respect for nature.
Okay, well, I for one am going to support this, and I feel that it's just for future generations, and no matter what, this is the right thing to do. So the province needs to be aware that even though we're not closely related to the situation, being downstream of it is close enough for us that we do have a voice in this matter. So, seeing nobody against it, we will go ahead and write a letter of support of the town of High River to the minister. Go ahead, Mr. Cliff Gregg.
This will be on the council agenda on Monday night.
Okay. Excellent. So we have about half an hour before our next presentation. So we could go to round table. And we'll start with Councillor Waters. What are you hearing?
I beg your pardon, Your Worship. We do have the delegates in the waiting room. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So.
Oh, well, my agenda says 4:30, but if they're here, let's roll. Bring them in.
Your worship, could we maybe suggest a 2-minute break while we're letting them in?
Let's make it 4.
Okay, good.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Gary?
How are you?
Good. We're just having a 4-minute break here. Sorry.
No problem.
We brought you in early.
That's not a problem.
Thank you for being early.
Absolutely.
Who else we got here?
As we get started here, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce Superintendent Shane Ramtimal.
Okay.
He's with us.
When everybody comes back, we'll do that. Hello, Shane. How you doing?
Hi, Tim. Good. Yourself?
Pretty good, my friend.
Good.
You're in Edmonton?
No, I'm actually in St. Paul. I'm the assistant district officer. I'm working under Wendell here.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Wendell's on the road. He's actually probably just getting to Edmonton now. He's got a couple things he's got to do there, coming back tonight, so he can't meet with us today, unfortunately.
Well, I wasn't hoping it. I hope it wasn't because of something I said to him last time, Terry?
Well, he did say something, but I can't remember exactly what he said. No, you're good.
No, I think we're good.
Things in St. Paul are getting better on the COVID side. The numbers have gone down substantially there, I see.
Yeah, they were down. I want to say it was about 8 or maybe even 4 at one point. So I think this morning they said 24.
Oh,
so
but
there's
not
a little bit of a bump again, but yeah, we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah. I know our numbers have creeping up here too, so.
Oh.
Hopefully within a week we'll start going down, and it's nice to see the vaccination are working with the senior population. That is really good to see. So
it is, yes. That's a great relief anyway. And now that they're opening it up to even more, like I think it can be, I think it's 40 now is the lower limit.
Yeah, for that one vaccination. Yeah, the one.
Yeah, I still have a couple more years before I can get it. Then I gotta wait. Hey.
I can get it right now. I've registered at 3 different places. Nobody's phoned me.
Oh.
I could go to the city to one of those super sites and get it done, but I was kind of hoping to get it done here in town. So.
Well, someone just yelled down the hall here about half hour, 45 minutes ago that Extra Foods has, like, if you showed up after 4, you can get vaccinated apparently, and just come and go as you are, like whatever. So.
I watched on the National last night. There's a website in Canada called Vaccination Hunters, and you go on there and they'll tell you right now anywhere in your region where you can get one right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing. They don't charge nothing for it.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
It's a far cry from a month or 2 back when people were really hard pressed to get them, right? It's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Just some of the news releases on AstraZeneca and stuff, you know, like it sort of slowed everything down and people are getting choosy, and I don't know. I still go with they say that the first one you're able to get is the best one. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty good. Everybody made it back in 4 minutes. They used to have a little bit of authority on the Zoom site with us. I think we're all back.
I thought maybe Phil was outside there, but I see he's just got a screensaver set up.
Yeah, he thought he was hanging around, eh?
Yeah.
Lord.
All right.
Okay, so I guess we were live the whole time for those of you that were watching my conversation with Terry and Shane. Everybody's back, and now we're going to have an update from the RCMP, and we're going to start with our Staff Sergeant Terry Egan's here. Go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Mayor McPhee. I want to thank the rest of you as well, Council, and having me on this afternoon. And I'd like to introduce, as I mentioned earlier, Superintendent Shane Ramtemal. He's coming in from St. Paul. He's our Assistant District Officer, and he joined us a few months ago here. And for today, I'd like to provide a bit of a synopsis of our quarterly report here. I'm just going to try to share my screen with you. And here we go. So if you can all see this, this is a copy. I'd asked that this be forwarded on earlier, but I'll share with you it as we go here. This refers to the first 3 months of our year here, quarter 4 of 2020-21. And in total, we had 1,002 calls in those 3 months. That's up about 105 occurrences from 2020. The purpose of this graph mainly is for me to be able to split up and explain where we're at as far as municipal versus provincial calls. As you all know, we run a post system here, and within the town of Vegreville, for example, persons offenses, we had 51, and within our provincial area, there was 14. Some other examples here, property offenses, 116 versus 52. It kind of gives you a breakdown of exactly where the call volume was shared from the perspective of the detachment. Not all of the calls are broken down. They're just some of the more significant ones or ones of interest. Mental Health Act is one thing that I would like to point out. We've seen quite an increase in that. Particularly in our first 3 months, we saw 80 of those calls here in the town of Vegreville and 23 in the provincial areas. And that is a significant increase. I'll go into the numbers as far as how they compare to previous years as we go along here. A few files, crime trends, I should say, 1,002 calls. That breaks down to 111 calls per constable, or 37 calls per month in our Q4. 116 property offenses within the town of Vegreville. That includes 12 break-and-enters, 6 vehicle thefts, and 25 mischiefs. We've seen an increase in our quarter 4 property crimes, 5% over the past 5 years, but these are actually down about 15% overall from 2020. We saw 51 persons crimes reported. That's an increase of 46% from 2020. And most significant of note were assaults and other threats. And I attribute a lot of those, I suspect, to disharmony from the pandemic. People are struggling with the ongoing issues we're all facing from pandemic. So a few files of interest from the town of Vegreville over this quarter. February 18th and March 7th, we executed search warrants at the same residence twice. Within 3 weeks. There's a 49-year-old male that lived there, and we arrested him along with several associates for drug trafficking, weapons possession, fraud, possession of stolen property. And we're continuing to monitor this individual and his associates. And in fact, since March the 7th, we've arrested him 3 more times and breached him for failure to comply in drug possession. But he's been released back pending hearings. This one in particular, I had suggested to Community Services Director Rowe may be a good example to put forward a community impact statement on. So I'll follow up with him on that. We had a family dispute on April the 3rd that resulted in manslaughter charges. And this one, a media release has just come out this afternoon. I've been informed. We responded to a disturbance at a Vegreville residence, and we found a male in medical distress there. Our members actually did actively work on this man to try to bring him back. CPR was administered. EMS arrived and continued on as well. Unfortunately, though, he did not survive. Major Crimes was brought in, and they investigated that one, assisted by our members here. And 36-year-old male here from Vegreville has been charged in connection to this with manslaughter. We had a sexual assault that's been an ongoing investigation for approximately 6 months now. And just last week, we executed a search warrant and arrested a 53-year-old former Vegreville pastor in relation to sexual offenses against young persons. As a result of this lengthy investigation, this former pastor has been charged with 8 criminal offenses, and the investigation is ongoing. I do anticipate there's going to be further charges in outlying areas and other communities throughout Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC potentially. And we have been getting a number of more calls on this matter in particular. Our members have been extremely dedicated to this investigation, and will continue on with it to make sure that we're providing all the assistance we can and getting the appropriate matters into courts resulting from this. Crime prevention initiatives, our habitual offender management program, we are continuing to be extremely busy with this. Some of the other files alluded to the breaches and that kind of thing that we've been pursuing. We've currently got 19 habitual offenders that we're aware of that we are actively monitoring in the community here. In the fourth quarter, it should read, our efforts resulted in 25 charges for failure to comply, stemming from 37 different investigations in Vegreville. So this continues to be an active initiative for our members. School and community meetings have been limited. However, new school assignments and initiatives remain subdued because of COVID. Members are responding to schools as were requested. We're trying to respect distancing and COVID restrictions. However, anytime that the schools are contacting us, we're moving forward with that. We're really looking forward to getting back into the schools as regularly as we possibly can. And we will have liaisons assigned to each school as soon as the pandemic restrictions recede. So community consultative groups, we held a town hall initiative on February the 21st, Country 1065, and our new communication director, Jameson Brown, had assisted us with that initiative. It was really well received. We had some great discussions and quite a few calls and inquiries about different issues, and it assisted us to help set our priorities going forward into the new year. Our detachment performance plan for 2021 and 2022 has been prepared and implemented in consultation with our leaders, residents, and detachment staff. That town hall helped us out with this initiative. Our priorities have been set to include crime reduction with a focus on property crimes and drug trafficking, mental health and addictions, and traffic safety. We have a number of initiatives set forward to address these issues, and we are thus far on track to meeting our goals. Other significant issues, our COVID-19 response. Our operational services have remained uninterrupted. Administrative functions are at full capacity. However, we are limiting the capacity in our lobby just to ensure that restrictions are met. All of our municipal constable positions are currently staffed. We are, however, waiting the backfill of our vacant corporal position. We have no current pending outgoing transfers. We did receive 2 senior constables late in the fall and over the winter, and they're bringing a lot of experience and knowledge with them. Constable Dane McCarty and Constable Anita Doctor. They've both been in the RCMP for quite a few years, and so they're helping our younger members to develop and bringing a lot of great experience to the detachment as well. Our new corporal that we're awaiting on, his name is Patrick Workington. He's coming out of F Division, Maidstone, and he's just waiting on his home to sell at this point. So I've had a few discussions with him, and he's anxious to come. He's from Alberta, and we're looking forward to him arriving. Now, I'd forwarded the quarterly updates, the quarterly reports a few weeks back, and this is a new format that K Division has implemented, and it's quite simple, but I'll just go through it briefly with you. It goes through our resources and lays out what I just told you. We have 8 established positions. Currently, we have 8 working, or sorry, 7 working, and the 1 vacant position. Our financial expenditures have declined in several areas within operation and maintenance, primarily fuel and travel and training. And I think a lot of that is due to the pandemic as well. We've seen decreases in our ability to send members on training and that kind of thing because of it. But overall, there's no concerns to be identified as far as that goes. Crime statistics. I have attached further down below some very detailed statistics that you're welcome to go through, but a brief year over year. Total criminal code, we're actually down 13% overall from 2020. Persons crimes, we've seen an increase, as mentioned earlier, 8%. Property crimes, 21% decrease. We've got some more detailed statistics as we go down. You're welcome to view those when you have a chance. Points of interest, year over year increase in persons crimes, 38%. And increase in mental health files. This is a big one for us. 124% increase in our first 3 months from 2020. People are struggling with this right now. Our quarterly updates on the priorities that we had set forth from last year. We saw a decrease in property-related offenses, thefts and break and enters in particular. Our targets were to increase our clearance rates and as well reduce the overall incidents. And we actually were successful. We met our goals. Public confidence and engagement. I've got this laid out as well, and this includes our initiatives for the town hall community consultation groups. Road safety. We didn't quite meet our goals in this area, and I also attribute some of this to the pandemic. We just didn't see as many people on the road. Mind you, these stats are for yearly, not just quarterly. And we've also seen the implementation of the administrative penalty information system, which is a new system that is helping us to address impaired driving through provincial sanctions, rather than going to deal with these things criminally on every case. This system was implemented in BC a number of years back, and it's been wildly successful there in reducing overall fatalities. And that's the goal of this ultimately, as well as to try to unburden the court system. Impaired driving prosecutions are extremely burdensome, and this hopefully should help alleviate some of that. We had 23 impaired driving investigations resulting in 6 charges in our fourth quarter, and and 5 of those were dealt with through the the administrative provincial penalty information system. Our members are still learning this system, and so far it's going fairly smoothly, but it is a bit of a process. So there are more stats laid out further below, but overall this provides a bit of a snapshot, 2021 versus 2020. Our criminal code offenses for the first 3 months, we saw an increase of 46% persons crimes, overall 15% decrease in property crimes. Other criminal code, 22% increase. Property crimes selected, 45% decrease in break and enters in the town of Vegreville for the first 3 months. So we have had some success as far as curbing some of these. Further detailed statistics down below here. Total persons crimes, again, we're seeing an increase, the trend. There are individual trends laid out here, but overall persons crimes are up. Property offenses, we've seen a decrease on the 5-year, which is this column right here, 15% down. Year over year, we're up 5%, that was mentioned before. Drug trafficking, we have been very successful in this year and last year. The first 3 months, we saw 8 trafficking charges proceed. And that's compared to 10 last year. We had a good year as well last year for that. But the initiatives are working, and the members are doing a good job of curbing these crimes. Not to say that we don't have our challenges. We've seen an increase in this type of activity. Members have been informing me, and I've noted that we have seen a number of people that seem to be transient coming to town here recently that don't seem to have ties to Vegreville. And so we're monitoring that, and we'll continue to. Some of these people may be here for other reasons other than trying to become gainfully employed or be good, trying to integrate into Vegreville and be productive and that kind of thing. So we'll keep monitoring that. These last pages provide some good monthly comparisons. So for example, we've got our break and enters here. January of 2020, we had 9, and in January of 2021, we had 5. We had 0 in February reported. We had 7 reported in 2020. So in a lot of respects, we are seeing a good downward trend. On the 3-month trend, we're actually almost at half of those. So things are progressing well this year so far in some areas. We're still seeing some vehicle thefts. We had the trend is actually fairly steady. So those are some of the statistics, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any more questions or concerns about our quarterly report.
Okay. Terry, you want to take that down?
Sure.
Well, I can see everybody again.
Sorry, I'm just trying to expand this. There.
Okay. First of all, thank you for that report and the update on some other serious things that have happened in the last month here in town. Does anybody have any questions so far on Terry's presentation? Councillor Worwell, you'll go first.
Hi, well, thank you very much. I'm not sure if you're able to give me this additional information at this time. If not, even a follow-up would be great. But we've been talking lots about mental health through a number of our boards and programs. And I'm just wondering, with the mental health calls increasing, is there, are you noticing a trend in a specific age category that seems to be more related to these calls? And then the second part of that is I'm wondering if you're able to tell us whether the mental health calls were more in relation to safety of the person in particular, or whether they were safety of people around them.
The mental health calls have been right across the board. Gender and age don't seem to discriminate. We've had, I can think of examples of 12 to 16-year-olds. Just 2 days ago, I was out dealing with a 16-year-old from town, and we've got 60 or 70-year-olds here that we're dealing with on a regular basis. Our members do know the folks in town that are struggling with some of these issues. Quite often, there are people that we deal with over and over again, and again, they're not necessarily breaking the law. Quite often they're just struggling with their own mental health. And I mean, we're seeing, I think everybody's been impacted by the pandemic, and those who are susceptible already, I think, are particularly seeing a heavy impact. So our members are doing their best to try to help these people out in whatever manner they can, and try to refer them to counseling and try to get some medical help for them. Hopefully the resources are there and available. Occasionally we will help out, and we may end up transporting somebody in if there's a criminal offense that's related to the call, or whatever way that we can help. And that kind of ties into the second part of your question. Quite often there are no actual offenses that have been committed when we're dealing with somebody in these instances. And so we have to do our best to try to get them some help. And for the most part, those people are usually cooperative, and they just are reaching out and trying to get some help, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. We've had a lot of mental health talks through various boards, so it's quite an issue right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Rudick, you were next.
Thank you very much for joining us here today. First thing I'm going to say is I do like the new reporting method. We've seen these for a long time, and I think this captures it well. So thank you for the updated version. I guess maybe not so significant, but there's a lot of important data within there. My question is actually along the same lines as Councillor Warwa. I'm a member of Yellowhead East Health Advisory Council as a volunteer. And one of the pieces of information that came forward from Camrose, which of course is not covered by RCMP service proper, that they found that 40% of their calls were not policing related matters. In fact, they included what you just highlighted, the Mental Health Act synopsis of all of those different types of calls, whether they're well-being, checkups, et cetera. So what they've implemented there is sort of a cross jurisdiction assistance. So making sure that they have the right people assisting in the right way. And I'm wondering, as we move forward, this seems to be a trend, if there are some ways that we could try to work together, because we've had some very specific positive effects when we go across jurisdictions in our community, making sure that we have all of the right groups together, working together. I'm just wondering whether or not you've looked at that. And the last thing I'm going to close with is I've had some personal interaction with your members, and I wanted to specifically say thank you. It's been a very tough year for your group that has been working through some really challenging times. So I want to say personally, I appreciate the personal dedication of your members and their attention to detail, making sure that people of the community feel safe whenever they can and following up on specific calls. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Councillor. I will pass that along to the members. They'll appreciate hearing that. It's always good to hear that positive feedback. Your question ties in very closely to our initiative going forward this year to try to address mental health and addictions concerns. I agree that this is not an issue that we can deal with on an island, and we do need to coordinate with our partners in the community, with Covenant Health and with FCSS, with the town of Vegreville, with our local physicians, with local counselors, addictions workers. We certainly can't address all these issues on our own. We're not counselors, we're not physicians, but we do get into that position sometimes where we're the first ones that are coming into contact with people who are struggling with these issues. And our members very much want to try to be able to help them. Unfortunately, there is a bit of a barrier there sometimes until we get to know and form a personal relationship with some of these clients. They may sometimes feel that we're just simply there to arrest them or just to deal with the problem and then move along kind of thing. You know, our members really do have a genuine interest in trying to help these people, because in turn that helps the community and it helps everybody else as well. You know, we need to try to curb any of these further issues, because there are peripheral problems that come as a result of these. We see crimes that are possibly peripheral that people who are in mental health crisis may not have the intent to commit, but they do become an issue that we have to address. So I agree 100%. I think communication is the issue, and trying to collaborate with our different agencies is important going forward on this issue.
Go ahead, Shane.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to add what we're doing at I'll say a divisional or provincial level. So the police funding model has allowed us to expand and bring in more resources. So this year we're going to have, it's 11 million, and if memory serves me correctly, it's 58 regular members and 40 public service employees. So here in Eastern Alberta District, we're going to get, and you may have heard these positions in the other parts of the province, but a police and crisis team. So we're going to have a full-time regular member based out of St. Paul, and Alberta Health Services already committed funding to hire I forget the exact phrase, a nurse, if you will, a mental health nurse. And I'm sorry, there is a proper phrase for them, but that's what comes to mind right at this moment. And that team's going to operate out of here. So we're going to eventually fill those two spots, and they're going to work out of here. And of course, your town will get some support out of that as well. The future plan is to have two based out of St. Paul. Hopefully we'll have one around the Wainwright area, and then another out of, I think it's Athabasca, if I'm not mistaken. So that's sort of our next, I think it's a 3-year plan that we're on. And then throughout the province, there's going to be other positions as well. So to your point, we do spend a lot of time doing a lot of things that are not police matters. I remember reading a McLean's article in 1967. A police officer was chasing down in a canoe, First Nations folks from a reserve to get them their vaccinations. But that's been our history and tradition for years. We've always done things that everybody thought was important that nobody else wanted to do. And so our goal is to look at those things, peel the layers back and find out, okay, who can we bring in to help us do these things? And how can we free up our members so that we can now focus on the things that we should be focusing on? And so that's our goal and that's our philosophy, and we're working towards that. And the PAC team is going to be one of those things. I mean, these stats are staggering, and yeah, yes, the pandemic is contributing to it, but there's a lot of other things that are contributing as well, and it doesn't help. But we're the first that are called, and we're always the first, and we always respond. But whatever is going on that, and if you go back to the onion, that first layer may be a policing issue, but everything else underneath it is something else that we don't do, we don't handle. So they end up in the court system because of whatever, but in reality, they're not getting the help they need. And so that's our focus, is to try and get them the help they need in that area. So anyway, I've rambled on, sorry about that.
No, that's fine, Shane. And, anytime you say that there is going to be some help provided and 2 more positions maybe coming online to help with some of these mental health issues. I mean, I had a conversation, and Cliff and I met with Terry and Wendell, and we talked about the pooling model that we use in Vegreville and cost to the town when we're not in town. Officers are being paid and they're out in the provincial side. I just wanted to share with everybody too that when there is mental health calls and issues, and if we have to take members of our detachments to take them someplace in a vehicle, then we have to bring somebody else in for overtime, or running prisoners back and forth. It's on the dime here, right? That overtime adds up. So I do appreciate the stats and the update of where we're at. But what I'd really like to talk about right now is the modeling that we use in town. And it's the pooling model is correct. Am I calling it right, Terry?
It's actually referred to as a post-model system. And yeah, I have prepared a bit of an information package for council on that.
Okay.
Some of that information will have to be shared in camera, however.
Okay. So then what we'll do is we will go into closed session to hear some of those things, because more than anything, the conversation I had with you and Wendell, we need to move it forward, and the council needs to be able to have all the information as we move forward with making decisions. So basically, could you just describe what this method is for everybody that's listening online?
Absolutely. In detachments of our size and capacity and demographic, we have resources that are funded provincially and resources that are funded municipally. In the town of Vegreville, for example, there are 8 municipally funded regular member positions, and there are 4 provincially funded regular member positions. Our administrative support staff are also funded in the same manner. We have 2.5 municipally funded positions, and we have 1 provincially funded position. Those positions all work together, and it's a collaborative approach to police the entire detachment area. The members and support staff, regardless of how they're funded, contribute to policing in the entire area, not just those portions where the funding is derived from. So our municipal members may attend calls in the provincial areas and vice versa. That allows for a lot of benefits in a number of different ways, which I'll describe in more detail through the presentation. And it also provides a lot of financial benefits, cost sharing, and flexibility. And there's a number of different aspects. It's quite is quite complex, and it goes in quite a lot of depth as far as the different aspects that would be affected if we were to deviate from that post model. But that model is the model that is widely used in communities throughout, not just K Division, but the entire RCMP. There are 18 similar detachments in similar sized communities, those under 15,000 within K Division. All but one operate on a post model system. And that one is, there are some reasons why they're actually on that municipal model, and I'll get into that in detail further on. But it is the widely used model, and there's a lot of reasons for it.
Could you tell the citizens of Vegreville who determines in this post model method how many officers need to be municipal and how many need to be provincial? What determines that?
These numbers are all based on statistics, call volume, crime severity index, and geographics. How big is our service area? Our operations strategy branch researches these and compiles the information, and is very meticulously, methodically created. These positions are determined through a lot of different information that's compiled, and that's how it's determined as far as what is required to police a certain area.
So that is covered under the Alberta Policing Act, correct? We have no input as a municipality to how many members we feel would be appropriate to police our municipality.
I believe that input, there is the ability for input. However, I do also believe that there are minimums that are required to ensure basic officer and public safety and to ensure the workload is covered off. Superintendent Ramtimo may be able to comment further on this.
I was waiting anxiously. Mr. Mayor, this is where I came from. My previous position was Operations Strategy Branch, so I'm familiar with the way we I guess come to where we are with the numbers. So what we do is we'll take all your crimes and we assign a minimum value to each type of crime. So let's take an impaired driving offense. Terry's folks go out, they find someone who's drinking and driving, and the amount of time that it takes to process that person, we figure out an average. So let's just say it takes 5 hours, and I'm just making an ambiguous number. We'll take that 5 hours and apply it to the 37 times that they did that, and we come up with an amount of time that was spent over the year investigating those types of offenses. We do that for every single time for every type of file. So mental health calls, we have a number of time set and so on and so forth. And we'll get to a number of hours that were spent the entire year investigating all those offenses. Then what we do is we divide it by the number of members. Now I'll put that aside for a second. What we typically see is in a work year, a member will spend about 2,280 hours of working. That's what a regular work week should get you out of an employee. What we find though is that about 1,600 hours is really what they work, because there's holiday time, sick time, training time, and all these other administrative types of time when they're away where they're not on the front line working. So we take that 1,600 hours, and what we'd like to do is initially, and we have goals that we want to achieve over the next few years. So right now we're shooting around having them at 1,100 hours of investigative time. That is what we determine your community is going to be successful in investigative, but then we're assigning about 500 hours of proactive time. And that gives them the ability to go out, go to the schools, meet with your community folks at different events, doing the proactive patrols, whether it's writing tickets, looking for impaired drivers, or now we're doing the crime reduction initiatives, targeting offender manager, the prolific offenders, and going out and doing those things. So that's where we see as the most beneficial in your community. And so then we'll look at, now we go back to what that workload was, and we'll compare that. And if we find that you're right in the sweet spot of 1,100, then you're perfect. If let's say tomorrow you want to reduce your membership, then we will come back. And I think actually we had some conversations a little while back about this a year or two ago, because I think you had your school resource officer and you're looking at workload back then. But the school resource officer would have never factored in, because that's a different person doing a different role. But I thought that we were kind of, and Terry, you can correct me, I thought we were kind of around the sweet spot anyway, the 12. Initially we were at 1,200 and we dropped it down to 11. So that's how we kind of get to that, is we'll look at what those numbers look like based on that workload. So if memory serves me correctly, your calls for service in town versus the rural, so your 8 versus 4, you're right about 50-50. I think it was 52-48 or something like that. Is that right, Terry?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps explain a little bit better, but that's kind of how we get to where we are. So contractually, you have a contract with Public Safety Canada, not with the province of Alberta. And so your contract, and we are not in the contract, we are the service provider. So your contract with Public Safety Canada will say, the commissioner of the RCMP sets the minimum standard that's required for your policing. And so what we do is we'll come up with that number. So 8 that you have, if for some reason you need 9, then technically we say, and then Public Safety Canada will say, no, you need to be at 9. We're not having those discussions today about where you need to be going forward. But if you go backwards and want to reduce, then we'll have those discussions. Does that help?
And I do appreciate that there is a formula, that there is, the method to this. And I guess the other method would be that we would have 8 municipal members working within our town and not assisting in the province side.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So that's where the conversation that I had earlier, and it's not pointing fault or blame or anything with anybody. We just need to know what we're all paying for here. And there was promises from the province that there was going to be more on the provincial side coming to this detachment, and then we would have more coverage probably with our own municipal within our town limits. But I don't see that happening. And I've heard some rumors that we're probably not going to get it now.
We actually, sorry, Mayor, we actually have seen an increase. We saw an additional provincial position that was provided to our detachment, effective, I believe it was July of 2020. And that position has been filled. That's an additional position that was provided by the province in the last fiscal year.
So there was 3 provincial officers before, and now there's 4 because of this.
Correct.
And I knew that. I just want everybody else that's listening to know that.
No, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions that they want to ask in public right now? Because some of the other stuff that Terry's going to share with us has to do with their operations. And we don't want everybody in town to know that. So not in town, but everybody in the province to know exactly how they operate. So seeing none, I would take a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Barry. All those in favor? Carry.